afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. You have Alyssa Corum and Ed Carson here, and we're going to break down today's action. Strong gains in the market today and a pretty pivotal day for the Nasdaq, Ed, and we're also going to take a look at some interesting action underneath the surface.
Yeah, that's right, Ali. The Nasdaq hit a record high while Microsoft is hitting 2 trillion, also hitting a buy point along with a couple of other tech stocks. Not tech stocks, other good stocks.
Yeah, tech stocks, good stocks. We'll take a look at them. And first, here is the Nasdaq. You can see hitting a new high in today's session, up 0.8%. We also had the S&P 500 up 0.5%, the Russell up 0.4, and the Dow up 0.2%. So, Ed, this seems somewhat significant here today, but the key is, can the Nasdaq hold this level now?
Yeah, it'd be nice. Can it hold, and can the whole market sort of trend higher? It doesn't have to go as fast as the Nasdaq, but just it'd be nice if everybody could go in the same general direction. As you say, you draw that line, so it cleared a 2-month high, but really it's sort of a 4-month kind of period here. And honestly, we're going to see a lot of bases like this. There's a lot of consolidations that are about this long, or 2-month bases, or double bottom bases. The market is going to follow what the major indexes do, and certainly a lot of the growth stocks are going to look like the Nasdaq. Definitely following along Monday's strong action. So very nice to see.
And checking in on the S&P 500 after a trip to its 50-day line, yet another successful test at that level. Even though we did see the S&P close below the 50-day on Friday, that was a little bit of a concern, but we are bouncing, Ed. So this is also looking good.
Yeah, just below a record high, just really closing in there. It certainly Fed Chief Jerome Powell's comments late in the session took what was sort of a slight to modest gains, turned them into modest to solid gains. That was nice. One reason why they sort of go back and forth, there's such a small gap between the 50-day line and all-time highs. You can swing from, oh boy, we're in trouble, to, oh boy, it's never been better, without much trouble. But definitely nice to see, because the only thing is that the volume was so high, partly because of some witching and other things, or maybe some other issues, but still nice to see the market bounce back.
And then from a portfolio management standpoint, Ed, does this mean that investors should be getting more into the market if they had been pushed to the sidelines somewhat over the last couple of weeks or even months, if this hasn't really been the environment for them, seeing the Nasdaq making the progress that it has and more growth stocks looking better?
Yeah, I mean, I think the combination, the Nasdaq hitting a high, more stocks breaking out or offering entry points, and the whole market sort of moving up, at least together, those are reasons to sort of add modestly. Just keep in mind, we could easily switch around. It would just take a bad day or two, and all of a sudden those concerns would come back in. And you don't want to load up just on software and IPOs. I mean, it may seem tempting. Some of those are doing very well right now. I'm not saying you shouldn't have some of those, but if you get all into that, it could be with sector rotation, you could easily see that come down. So just keep that balance in mind.
Right. Flexible and disciplined. And let's take a look at Microsoft, a milestone for MSFT as well, with its 1% gain breaking out of this cut base and hitting that 2 trillion valuation. And I feel like it wasn't that long ago that we were seeing that race for the 1 trillion valuation. And this is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think somebody talking about this internally, and somebody, the first trillion is the hardest. Yes. Second trillion, that's hard. It looks like it closed just below that. I mean, you could round it up to 2 trillion, 1.998. Definitely got over 2 trillion intraday. Just more practically, the relative strength line is at a new high for the consolidation, or right out there. Not at a new high record, but it's sort of right there. So that's a positive. And as you're going to the weekly on the thing, so on a weekly, it's not that far from the 10-week line. So even if you were thinking about buying this as a long-term leader, you could still do it off of this buy point, just because we often say that buying off the 10-week line is smart, because you can see with those little patterns that often the breakouts will sort of not fizzle, but sort of like come back to the top of the base. And so buying it off the 50-day line can help you avoid, being underwater for a time in some of these stocks that may not skyrocket anymore, but still will have solid gains over time.
That's exactly right. Impressive track record of stable earnings at a very solid clip there. And now let's turn our attention to UPWK. Upwork up 14% so far for the week, 11% of that coming today. Heavy volume behind the move. And Ed, you put this on our radar on IBD Live this morning.
And I'll be honest, somebody in the comments section, hey, this is moving out past. And so, yeah, I see that. And I wanted to bring it up. And, you can see it sort of had a handle. Technically, that handle was too low. But there is a double bottom buy point. You could just sort of draw the line through all those kind of resistance areas. However you want to do it. That line, yeah, that
horizontal line.
Yeah, the
right
horizontal
around
line.
the 51, 52 area.
Yeah, so getting above that, really strong volume. Followed up yesterday as it rebounded sort of from the 50-day, 10-week line. RS line is above the double bottom area at least, and the handle area. So there's a lot of positives there.
And a strong volume as well, which you mentioned, and the group strength, which we are also seeing for Upwork ranked, group ranked 26 out of 197, and AEO, we're seeing retailers here and there looking good, Revolve among them, but also American Eagle up 4.2% above average volume, presenting an early entry here for investors.
Yeah, this is looking good, bouncing off the 50-day line. You could sort of draw a trend line. Maybe not from the very top, but yeah, you could do it from there. However you want to do it, you could find a way to get a trend line, I think, from there. And so that's offering an early entry in this base that's just a little too deep to be a flat base, and just a way to start a position. Maybe you add to it if it breaks out. But as Revolve, there's L Brands, there's a lot of retailers. Yeah, that group is really strong. You can see, in the fiscal 2021, which probably ended in January, that's usually when retailers end, that was a loss. But you can see this year it's rebounding. It's going to rebound. I don't know if it's to record levels, but certainly the best level in several years. We saw numbers last week that people are spending more on apparel, shifting away from maybe home improvement. Maybe, hey, people are going to see me again. Maybe I should get some clothes that don't have as many holes in them, or
unless
get clothes.
they're purposeful.
Yes,
holes,
maybe I need to get clothes with holes in them. Yes, and either way, got to look fashionable. And so I think that's really that's a nice trend to be getting into.
All right. Well, we'll have to see if the trend can continue. Thanks so much for that analysis, Ed. And thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow morning on IBD Live, make sure you catch John Najarian, option expert, CNBC contributor. He's going to be joining us for the full show. So you don't want to miss it. Check it out, investors.com/IBD Live. We will see you there tomorrow morning.